G'day, welcome back to Griffith's Garden. First of all, sorry it's taken so long for this video to come out. The work got done, as did the recording, but the editing took a hit. It's a pretty busy time of year on what I do, and sadly, this bit had to wait. To the video though, I get the second row staked and move on to showing you how I go about pruning stick tomatoes. So I hope you enjoy part 6, growing juicy tomatoes in Australia. Not so many in this one, I think there was 9, but these are a little different to that row over there, and certainly different varieties in this one for sure. So we'll get to that as we go, and you can, those with a keen eye will definitely make out that these are, from a flowering perspective, they're well ahead of those ones over there. But that's because they're a different variety. Sun's back, rain's gone. Need to do this now though, because rain's coming back tomorrow. When it rains it pours. We're getting a bit of a week of rain, so all of those complaints from me the other week about being so dry, well, it's getting answered. We're getting a good deal of rain now. So about 3.5 inches, a little more than that. We got out a little rain the other day, or last, through, I think it was probably over 3 or 4 days. And I think we're looking at another, maybe 1/2 inch tomorrow. And heading towards the weekend, probably another 1 inch or 2. So better get this going, otherwise this will get a little bit out of control. They're already bigger than what they should be when you stake them. You know how this bit works. I'll just crack on and put these first couple of stakes in, tie it off, and then come back and put the rest in, brace it up like that one over there, and then we'll start having a look at some pruning and try to take you through the right ways to do that. At least how I do that. I'm sure plenty of people do it differently, and I'll try to point out pros and cons of why I do what I do, how I do it. But like I said, I'm sure other people will have different ideas, but it's served me well for, I guess some time. So I'll crack on and do this. Again, second row of tomatoes staked. Well, yes, staked, not finished, but it really is quite simple. Once you've got your main wire in, it's fairly straightforward. So I'll bring you down here and have a little bit of a closer look. All right, so now we're nice and cozy down the bottom here. And those of you that, again, have a keen eye, and I know there's lots of you, would have noticed, if I just spin you around, all of this material on the ground. So I did a little bit of pruning the other night when I put this first row in of stakes. So now we're going to have a look at what I did in this row, and then I'm going to take you over here and show you how I go about that. Okay, so what you can see here, apart from a weed, is a lot of material that's taken off the plant. And you saw me, this is actually the one that I took these bottom leaders or laterals off. And this type of stuff here you can pull off as well. Just snap it there. So there's a couple of reasons for that. As a stick tomato, you want it to grow upwards, not outwards, unlike those over there, the bush tomatoes. The other reason is anything that's going to be in contact with the ground, soil, splash, things like that, is going to be subjected to the microbes and all the rest of it that get splashed up. And they're really susceptible to getting things like blight, any sort of, deterioration of the leaves. The easiest thing to do is snap them off. Even if you go halfway along a leaf,
right? So here, for example, it's getting a bit low. Leave some of the leaf behind, some of the branch even, and just snap the stuff off that's really low to the ground. Now, it's always going to happen when you have young tomatoes, of course, because they're only small. But as they grow taller, you just keep snapping them off, breaking them off, teasing them off, so that these, as your tomatoes are trained up the stick, really what you end up with is fruit, the lowest thing on your plant. The leaves are above your fruit. Depends on a few different cases, to be fair. If you're in a really strong sunny position, that might encourage a little bit of sunburn on your fruit, so you definitely don't want that. If you've got a nice shady position, well, your tomatoes are not going to be as good because they need a good amount of direct sunlight, but they won't be sunburnt. So there's pros and cons with all things with fruit, but if you want to grow the best tomatoes you can, the juiciest tomatoes you can, prune them up, get them away from the ground as soon as you possibly can with the leaf material, and extend their life as much as possible so you can go up as far as you can and along as far as you can to extend your tomato growing season. So what did I do here?
All right, so let's have a look at this tomato here. It's, reasonable size. It's big enough to be tied off to a stick so it doesn't flap around in the breeze, etc. And you can see that I've already taken the odd leaf off the bottom. What you can see here is a little leader. Sorry, I probably should call it a lateral. I'm sure people have different names for them. Some people call them suckers. I don't know. I relate suckers to bananas more than tomatoes, but anyway, whatever that is called, get rid of it. That's going to take nutrient out of your plant. It's not going to give you much. It's not what you want for a stick tomato to encourage the growth upwards. So get rid of it. It's not what stick tomatoes are there for. This leaf, I've left it here for the moment, having just spoken about trying to get them off the ground. Wait for another couple of leaves to come along, and then I will snap this one off. And then it's a matter of finding a reasonable position between leaves to put some string or whatever you want to call it around here. Some people use clips, but this is the baling twine off of the straw bales from the chickens. Just tie that fairly loosely. Definitely don't want it tight, but you can see you can move the tomato, and you want to be able to move the tomato. Why? Because that stem has got to grow a lot thicker yet, and it'll grow thicker than what it is here as well. So you need to give this enough space. You can maybe see, I guess I can almost put my finger down there, to allow that stem to get thicker, but still give it full support so that it's not blowing around in the wind. As it gets bigger, we'll tie it off maybe every foot, depending on what they look like. And when I say that, depending on what they look like, how strong they are, where they're going, how windy it is, and all that sort of thing. But flowers, they're going to be there. You come and visit your tomatoes at least every couple of days. So, if that needs to be shifted around, then you do that when you come out and have a look at your plants. And that's tying off your tomatoes. So you saw me take that piece out. Let's go and look down here, and you'll see, here's another one. I didn't take that one out last night, but all I do is grab it and pull it out like that. Clean as a whistle. Now, some people use scissors, secateurs, other bits and pieces. I don't use scissors. Never have. Well, I wouldn't say never, but there's one fundamental reason, and that is transfer of disease. If you have a pair of scissors that you're cutting those laterals with, then the juice from that will remain on the scissors, and you'll transfer it from plant to plant to plant to plant. Now, obviously it's going to wear out at some point in time, but you've just taken any potential disease from one plant to at least half a dozen. And, well, I think scissors you probably need to go and sharpen every now and then. Your hands, well, they just get green and covered in muck. So spend a lot of time trying to clean them. I've never found a decent answer to be able to get it off, by the way. And I mean a lot of tomatoes. So let's go over to this row and walk you through. It's going to be a little bit funny because that variety shouldn't really be on a stick, but we liked them on a stick last year, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So hopefully that's in shot. What we have here is what we call a sasha. Up here, you can see up here, yep, should be able to see all that. It's not really, I don't think it's a sasha. I think this is a variety that we got from down the road, and it's a bit of a mongrel, a local mongrel. But based on how leggy these things are, very different to what I showed you over there. These are very leggy. They look like a cherry tomato variety, but also a bush variety or a bush variant of the cherry tomatoes. Why? Because they have quite substantial laterals. So when I prune this thing, it's going to look quite ridiculous, to be honest. It's going to be like like a little dog when you wash it. It's got nothing left on it. Just all the fluff is gone, so it just looks like a little rat. So what we're going to do here, and there's a stake that I've already put in here because these were getting so tall and it got rather windy just before all that rain arrived. So I'm going to pull that small stake out, and hopefully what you can see here is the main stem starting from down the bottom here, and there's a big lateral, there's another one, that's a big lateral, but this is the stem here. And how do you know that? Well, lateral is always in between a leaf and the stem, not the other side. So leaf, lateral. Now how do I get rid of these? Again, snap them out. But when they're this big, and this is why I laughed about scissors before, sometimes it can be better to snap them like that. Just hold it pretty, a little bit away from the stem and give it a good snap. The reason why I do that is when they are quite substantial, you can sometimes tear down into your stem. You don't want that. You expose, it's a little bit like a cut on your hand. You're exposing the innards of the plant itself to all sorts of potential disease, but also, you know, it's an avenue for anything to enter the plant pretty directly. So something like this, just pull it off in the opposite direction. See how easy that is to come out? Now I'm also going to get rid of these leaves for the reason I said before. And a simple way to do that is just support the stem and snap it up. Done. Same with this one. I get my hands in the right way. Snap it away. Up a bit. That one, yeah, they're not always going to be super easy. This lateral, I can snap that off. And all these little extra growth bits down the bottom, I'd get rid of as well. All right. Hopefully I got that footage of pruning that tomato. I hate these. The typical camera that gets used for this, it just overheats. It's 30 degrees, yeah, sure, but geez, they really are ordinary. So the best thing you can do is hit subscribe and watch some videos, because it's going to be a long time before I make any sort of money whatsoever out of it, this caper, and afford to buy a new camera. So I think as soon as it's possible, that'll be the case. Anyway, let's quickly get back to pruning before the thing craps out again. So we were here. Just looking at these laterals and trying to prune them off. This guy here can go. Sometimes I might even think about keeping one to get a bit more
fruit out of it. There's another one at the back there. That one can go. I'll leave the rest of the leaves on there for the moment. The little ones here, before they get going, you just pull them out like that. And then, if I come this side, I'm going to come up. I might go here. There's no rhyme or reason other than, good stability. Just tying it again, loosely, firm, but not so it's up against the stick. You can see that's got a bit of, it's pretty loose. I should have put it under that leaf, actually. Why? Because it holds it upwards, up, stops it collapsing. So we'll do that. Just redo that there. Again, not too tight. And get all that string through, we're done. Job done. So that one is not going to blow away. It'll need another one probably up here. The flower is away from the stick. And yeah, it looks pretty chunky, but you know what? That's all it needs to be. So I'm going to have to go and do all the rest, but I'll do them separately. What I did want to do is show you, not the back end of the dog, but this tomato here, which is I'm going to wipe it off, but I think it's a yellow grape or something like that. Now this is definitely growing like a bush tomato, reason being, all these big laterals coming off. Oh, it's not so big, but you can see there's so many laterals coming off compared to the height. So I'm going to narrow this down to probably 3, I think. So I can get a little bit of an idea. Not having grown this before. And you can see I'm just in there teasing these things out. I want 3 laterals. That one I can pull over there. That I don't need. This one here is a good looking one. This one can go. So I'm going to keep the main stem, and this will probably make a bit more sense if I can put you down like that. And just snap that off instead of risking tearing the stem itself. That one at the back, just tease it away from the stem like that. So I've got 1, 2, or I could keep that one there. Whichever one's going to reach this stick better. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And this one can come off. So down, and you can see it won't tear that stem. So up the other way, and just pull it up. And you can see that wound, if you like, is a bit of a wound, but it's not as bad as it could have been. And then just strip out some of this leaf material off of the one that I want to keep as well. This guy can go. That one's easy to pick, that one's easy to pick. That one there, you can see again between the main stem and a leaf. It's that way and then this way, and you can hear it snap. This is another one, this one's a bit bigger, so like that. Sorry, I might have been a bit noisy there. That leaf can come off around the back. Bit of a tidy up. Oh, there's a big lateral out there too, so yeah. Hopefully this is the right thing to do on this plant. As I said, not having grown this one before, it's probably a bush. Definitely looks like a bush tomato. Hopefully we'll get enough fruit off it. They'll certainly be bigger by doing it this way, but maybe not as many. Probably not as many. A few more of these leaves can come out. In fact, we're going to get rid of that one anyway, so that whole thing comes off. And that guy there. Now you can see there's a lot of material getting ripped off this plant, that one. So that's okay. It lets the plant do its thing, and quite importantly, promotes airflow. Airflow, the better your airflow, the less chance of disease. So hopefully you've been able to catch all that. I think so. And that leaves us with one main leader, that's the main stem. This guy, let's pull that out. Don't need that much string this early because there's no weight in them. So just peel a bit out of that. This one's going to come over here. It doesn't need much education to get across there. This one though does need a little bit of help, so you don't want to be too forceful with them. So, and there's the flowers here, so I want to bring it this side so that they're not going to grow into the stick. Now again, I just do this with my hands, not with any equipment. You can see it. This is what, 2 plants? You can imagine it after, well, many plants. And if you're using scissors, secateurs or whatever, then you can clearly see the amount of transfer that you'll be doing by hand. So that's that plant. I'll need to stake that one separately. And that's the yellow pear, it's called, yellow pear. And hopefully we'll get some, put them on a salada biscuit, Jatz biscuit, a cracker, whatever you want to call it, size, with a bit of cheese, or chuck them in a salad. So that's how we prune those. So I'm going to go and do the rest of them, which, if I know this camera, is not going to last that long, so I'll turn it off and I'll come back when these are all done. And you can see again this material on the floor, not the string of course, or the stick, but all this stuff. Well, some people chuck it out, I just leave it there. It's organic material, it's going to go in the dirt. If it's diseased, different story, get rid of it. Put it in the, not your compost, your green rubbish bin in our case, which is the council/municipal green waste bin, let's call it that. Any sort of plant material that you want to get rid of. So when I pulled all these tomatoes out from last year, that's exactly where all that went, into the bin, so that any chance of disease is minimised. But for now, that's all good to stay on the ground. It goes back in this, back in the dirt, helps keep the weeds down a little bit. The other ones in the background, bush tomatoes, they're going to need to be staked as well, but that'll be a different video, because they do need to be done a little differently. And they don't grow as tall as you've seen, except for that yellow one. They don't grow as tall as quickly. But you can see why I say these are a bush tomato and why I think the yellow one was a bush tomato. The laterals that are coming out of these so early is the reason. Anyway, I think I've probably said a few times now. I'll go and finish the rest off and come back to you later. And there we have it. We're done. Now they look very scrappy right now. Very scrawny, very spindly. That's because I've put a lot of energy into growing all of that leaf and branch matter, and I've just gone and pulled, well, quite a lot of it off. This one here, you can see I've put an extra stake in the middle to take that main stem, and these flowers, I'll bring this around to the front when it gets a little bit taller, and it should clear, but it's just a little bit funny with the way it's so far behind the stake, I suppose. But the rest of them, yeah, they look quite scrawny. I think I might have to run 2 branches and let one of the leaders, an extra leader, grow to get some, I guess, a bit better fruit out of those. But they do look like a combination, a cross, a little bit like my word, a combination or a cross of a stick versus a bush tomato, because even though they had leaders on here, it's very leggy anyway, but flowers, and it's still growing. So it doesn't really grow like a bush tomato. It doesn't really grow like a stick tomato. Like I said, it was a bit of a combo from down the road that we had saved seed from last year.
So I guess, you know, your back garden is your back garden, and it's not necessarily true to type. So if it works for us again this year, well, we'll do it again next year and probably go over the same conundrum of what it is, but find out the best way it's going to grow, I suppose. And as long as you get tomatoes, you get tomatoes. Don't know about them being big and juicy on these ones. Hopefully they are. Hopefully the yellow ones will be good. Certainly the Blue Mountains over there, whether it be in the stick tomato or the bush tomato configuration, they're going to be good for sure. But anyway, these plants look really nice. And again, keep the flowers away from the stick. So I think that's it for this video. Get it edited and up, and I'm sure you've been very much waiting for what was going to come next. Well, now you know. So a bit more rain over the next few days, so no water necessary here, and it probably will, they won't like it so much because of disease and things like that, but from a water perspective, they're going to be happy with a bit of heat and humidity. They're going to be very happy. So I think that's probably it for this video, guys. I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for watching. And that's it from Griffith's Garden for today.